So we're speaking on Intro to Adulting. Most of you are adults. Let me just firstly say that. I'm not speaking here with the understanding just because you're students, you aren't adults in the fullest sense. But I think the reality is the moment you finish up with studies, you start working, things change and things shift. And we've got the privilege of having a few people here today that are already working. And I think all of them can attest it's not the same. It's not the same. What I put down there is my personal experience. I think one of the biggest things that happen the moment you finish up is responsibility becomes real. Responsibility becomes real in the sense there's no longer anyone checking up on you with the intent of necessarily helping you to fulfill what you need to do. When you need to go write the test next week, Cindy, and you do not pitch for that test, you're most probably going to get an email from your lecturer telling you, hey, where were you? When you are working and you do not do what is asked of you to do, you don't get an email, you just get a, sorry, please go home. So responsibility becomes real. Even more so, responsibility in our world today, and those of you that know me will know why I'm putting this down, but it becomes real in the sense you have to get life insurance, you have to get medical aid, you have to pay your taxes, you have to do all these things that the world tells us is needed and is vital. I do not think it's necessarily vital, but that's just me running on my own train. But no one else is doing it for you anymore, and if you do not do it, it's not going to happen. You decide for yourself. You choose. You have that choices. And what tends to happen? We get lost in these things. We get so anxious about the fact I do not have medical aid. And what happens if I get sick in a month's time and I have to? I have to go to national maybe. So let me please ensure I have medical aid at the end of the day. And before you find yourself, that's the reason why you do day to day to day. That's the reason why you try and find a job. That's the reason why you try and ensure you have a form of an income. So I can just fulfill these various responsibilities that the world puts down that I need to do. And it goes on for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And you hit 55, 60, and you look back and you reflect on your life and you ask yourself, what have I been busy with? Let me go buy a Ferrari. That will make everything better. We get distracted. Just like Martha gets distracted, we get distracted. Because it's this wonderful, wide, very, very interesting world that we have the privilege of living in. It's also a dangerous world. Day after day tries and impose onto us certain things that must be in place. And we get lost. We struggle to prioritize ourselves. I'm going to finish up, and I think that's what this text is trying to tell us, and that's what Jesus is trying to tell Martha as well. You can go to the last one. Thank you, Rachel. Remember your childish passions and interests. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I quite firmly believe that the way in which God creates each and every one of us with the specific talents, interests, passions we have, serve as a form of an indicator of which road we can walk in life that will be the best for us, that will help us to experience the full glory and holiness of this world and creation. I also believe, unfortunately so, that the systems and the powers and the structures of our world does not always desire that for us. Inteendeel. I think we live in a world where the principalities and the powers of this world would be quite content and happy if we fall into the various boxes that are put down for you to fall into. And my more conspiracy side believes that a lot of these things we accept and take as the norms. Insurance, having to have credit before you can take out a loan. Having to take out a loan in order to be able to buy a house and a car. Ways in which we are And if the reality is that a lot of us, after a few decades, get lost in that, the question then starts to become, but how do we address that? How do we shift that? How do we change that? Because most of us grow up in the church and we accept it as the norm, because most of us have heard the Christian stories from this small, I think we forget the power in them. We forget that 2,000 years ago and even still today they were meant to change the world, to radically alternatively change the world, to turn it on its head. It's not a message intended to keep in place that what we are seeing. It's not a message that's necessarily intended to help us be comfortable and safe while there are various atrocities and darkness happening wherever we may find ourselves. It's a message that tells us, listen here, you, Chriselle, possibly the person that will change all this. You, Remofielwe, has got the capacity, the talents to change all of this. We forget that. We get lost. What we're speaking on this evening, and then I'm done. Speaking on this evening is, how do we do life? And tonight I'm speaking a bit more, probably philosophical is what you can put it down to. But I think that's actually where it all starts, because if those values for yourself are not in place, you're going to struggle with all the other things. How do I do life? How do I ensure what I mean when I say how do I do life? How do I ensure that I wake up each and every morning with passion, with excitement, with the audacity to go out and believe I can possibly change the world around me today? How do I do that? How do I prevent myself from coming into a space where I end up at 50 and have a midlife crisis? So eenvoudig is dit, vriende. I think what this text tells us, what this text shows us, what this text teaches us, it begins with that which I prioritize. It begins with that which I choose to do. In the context of this text, Mary chose to honor the people in her home, to truly be present with them. I would like to believe, because that is the type of person that Mary was. She enjoyed people from this small. And why I put that down as our last thing, I think most all of us sitting here has had one or other childish dream that we've let die. A passion, an interest, a curiosity that excited us, that we've allowed to be pushed to the side. And I think if we want to find an answer to how do I prioritize, how do I personally, me, myself, Gerhard, find that priority, find that value, that thing that makes life worthwhile, I most probably only have to look back. What did I truly, really enjoy as a child? And that is maybe the road that I can try and walk. Make life truly, truly meaningful.